Hi, everybody.
Hey, everyone. How are you doing, Andrew? How are you, Ashley?
I'm doing phenomenal. I'm real happy to be here with my friend Ashley and with you, and it's a great day.
Amazing. So, my name is Jill. I'm the co-founder and CEO of CoGrader, and I wanted to extend a warm welcome to everyone attending today, the start of our AI week. We really think that today, and especially after COVID, things have gotten hard for teachers, and AI can really help us all have better lives and also improve students' learning. At the same time, AI is super scary, and there's so many things happening, and we don't want to be left behind on this new trend. So it's important for us to keep learning and learn the new tools that are out there. And I'm super actually excited, more than afraid I am, for this new wave of technologies coming in, about all the potential it has to make both teachers' life better and also improve, how students learn, and also bridge that equity gap and really do something EdTech has failed to do to some extent in the past few decades. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Andrew. Andrew is an expert in using AI tools, has educated tens, if not hundreds by now, of teachers on how to use AI tools to plan lessons, to grade, to help with the admin tasks, and to really help save time. He's considered one of the best practice teachers in Colorado. So I'm super excited to have Andrew share with you today, and Ashley together, about all these AI tools. Ashley is considered the reference in Jefferson County on how to use AI tools. And so everyone is resorting to her to learn and understand, what's the new thing out there, and if it can really help me, or if it's just a bit more of the hype. So we'll have Ashley share some of her thoughts too. So super excited to have you today, and for the next few days, we're going to keep, helping and learning and teaching what we know about how to use AI for the coming months. We're also going to be having a summer camp helping everyone in AI, and we're super excited to launch this first series. So, Andrew, the floor is yours.
All right. Yeah, just to take a moment, making sure, can we? I want to introduce my friend Ashley. We've worked together for, God, how long has it been?
Let's not say out loud.
It's
It
been
makes that ages us.
as long as I have been a teacher. And yeah, we started at a charter school. Before we start, we're just take a moment to share in the chat. Where are you from? What do you teach? And when was the first time you used the gateway drug for AI, ChatGPT? Or if you've never used it, like want to get a good feel for like where people are at. So yeah, Ashley and I have lived or worked together since I've been in Colorado. It's been like a decade. But yeah, can would please share just a little bit about what you've been doing this year around AI as people add to the chat.
Can I do a claimer? Just a disclaimer first. I've actually never done a webinar before, so this is really exciting and also really scary. So if I totally mess anything up, I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be a tech person, but it really is just a really great facade. So, but yeah, so I taught English with Gittner. With the charter school, I taught middle school. He was the high school teacher, and we both then taught high school together at Golden, where he is. And I decided to leave the classroom for a little bit, mostly because of grading, right? The hours and hours that it takes to grade essays. And plan them and all those things. And so now I work with our ed tech team. And I remember I had just started, so I've only been there about a year. And it was last spring, and all the English teachers that I know, they were coming to me and they're like, the world is on fire. What is this AI? All the kids are using it to cheat. And I was like, I guess as an ed tech person, I should know what this is. So I started doing a little bit of research and then just kind of fell down the rabbit hole of AI because of what it offers teachers and how it can actually save time, right? And time is the one thing that every teacher needs. So just started sharing what I've learned and had the wonderful opportunity to do some presentations and talk about AI. And that's what's led me here today. So
yeah, that's my story is kind of similar, and we both like really are coming at this with the perspective or the belief that it's important that we use AI to make our lives as teachers a little bit more sustainable. My goal is to make it to retirement, and to believe that that exists. But like the reason I became a teacher in the first place is because I grew up spending a lot of time like just kind of puttering around in the woods in New York State. When I was in 10th grade, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay alive or not. I was a depressed kid. I was really lonely. And my 10th grade English teacher taught us, or we were in an honors class where like nobody wanted to do the reading. And she taught us, we read together, The Wizard of Oz, the children's book. But she taught it as like a parable for the Buddhist middle path, and then brought in these ideas from Stoicism. And it like made me feel a connection to some part of the humanities that was bigger than I'd ever thought possible. And that's why I wanted to be a teacher. And after like a few years working with Ashley at the charter school and a few more years at Golden, like through COVID toward the end of last year, I was not excited to come back because I realized like that depression was coming back, because I was burning out, like working so many hours at home, trying to figure out like trying to help my students be the best writers they could, right? And we were getting a new principal, like there was just a lot of change, and I wasn't sure, like teaching wasn't fun anymore, and I was feeling like I wasn't able to give to like what my students deserved, like, that feeling where it's like that feeling that I'm not good enough. And the way I found that again was actually through like using ChatGPT to start with stuff like this, and through CoGrader. Because now I can grade and give so much better writing feedback. I'm actually using that to plan better lessons. And I both feel like a better teacher, and also I feel like there is a future for me in this, and I'm not going to burn out. So I made the choice to stay in the classroom because like I think there's an opportunity for me to be the teacher that my students deserve, but also because I want a place to help other people stay like in teaching. So that's the AI week, and that's why we're here, is because I know I'm not alone in feeling that. And you only keep what you have for giving away. I got my passion for teaching back, and I'm here because I want to give that back away. Yeah, Farrar, why are you here?
Because you asked me to.
I love her.
I think just because like we're sitting on this thing that can help teachers, right? And it's one of the first ones in how many years that we've been teaching together, and it always just feels like every year teachers just get more and more put on their plates, and more that they have to do, and very rarely do we feel like there's something that's there to really help and take some of the load off of their plates. And I feel like generative AI can help with that, and ease some of the load. And so I'm just excited to share that and hopefully help teachers find a little more balance in life and get to do some of the things that they love and still continue with the career that they have a passion for. So yeah,
that's and I want to say thanks to everybody who's like in the chat. Welcome to AI week. Thank you, Cindy from Santa Cruz. We got
Santa Cruz.
Ash Ferraro's from which part of California you're from again?
So between Monterey and Santa Cruz, in a tiny little town called Prunedale. But I have been diligently watching Otter 841 steal surfboards, and it's very exciting. Sorry, my Chihuahua wants to be part of our webinar.
That's no, we got peeps from Florida. Thanks, Jen. Marianne from South Dakota. We've got like every coast in the middle of the country here, and that's real cool. So just like, this is a lot of stuff on the screen right now. This is just a sample of what we're doing, or this is roughly what we're going to go over for AI week. Today's going to be like how to speed up the administrative duties that aren't always fun so that we can get to like why we became teachers in the first place. Tomorrow, I'm going to go over some classroom prep, but a lot of like how to grade and assess much faster and of much higher quality. And then on day 3, our friend Emily is from California is going to join us, and she's going to talk about like class activities to do. This is the big one, like how to create an individualized writing tutor, like a lot of cool stuff that you can do with AI with students. So that's just sort of the schedule this week. Come back for each day, check some stuff out. Ashley, can you give our disclaimer real quick?
I didn't know you put this in there. So this is just kind of I used a similar comparison with my students when I was teaching that much like Moby Dick, that's not told from the story of Captain Ahab, right? It's told from Ishmael's perspective. That I might be your guide and we can share and show you some things around AI, but this is really your journey. So my hope is that you will take what resonates with you, leave anything that doesn't, but that it's your journey with AI and how you're going to handle this quote unquote white whale that is generative AI right now.
And another one, both Ferraro and I taught in 2020. So welcome to everybody who, this is giving me very, very 2020 vibes, but please participate with us. We need it. It is the energy we feed off of that sustains us. So we got a friend in the chat. CoGrader is going to help us keep track, but please ask questions and respond to the webinar chat. Take notes, revisit if you're willing, and come back tomorrow. We're going to build on this stuff in future sessions. So here's what we're going to do. And after this, Ashley's going to like take it away. I've seen her give this presentation at like a lot of district things. She's solid. We're going to like talk mostly about how to apply AI solutions to the unfun parts of teaching and maybe go over some basic AI literacy. The goal, again, make teaching more sustainable, less stressful, and make teaching fun. We need people to be willing to ask some questions. But before we start, like Ashley, just give us a little bit of background on like, you know, where's generative AI and where we are now.
Sure. I'm sorry. What do you mean by that?
Oh, just like how, just like Jeffco's recommendations on AI kind of thing.
Got it. Okay. So in our school district, our main priority is, right, our learners, our future. And we talk about how it really is our goal to prepare our students for post-secondary world. And so with that, our school district decided from the very beginning, we're not going to be blocking AI because it exists and our students now live in a world with AI and we need to help them learn how to navigate that responsibly and successfully so that they can take every advantage and opportunity in the world that is provided them. And so with that, these are kind of just the guidelines that it's going to remain open based on age requirements. So for example, right now, Google Bard in our school district is blocked. One, because it's in beta testing, but also because it's part of the 18 and older, right? That's its age restrictions. And so in our district, we consider all of our students under 18, even if for the couple of months that they are 18. So just based on age restrictions is how we're kind of deciding what students have access to and those kind of things. But specifically how students are using it or what the expectations are, our district is hoping that and allowing the schools to decide. We're a very large district. We have about 150 schools and we span miles and miles apart in Colorado. And so what works and what's good for students in one of our schools may not be the best option for a different school. So hoping that allowing schools to kind of decide how to go from there and what's best for the students at that school and that community. And then even down a little bit further is that we're asking teachers to be really transparent, what the expectations are for AI. It says on here with students, I highly encourage with parents, there's just a lot of fear right now around it. And so I've always had really good success when I've told my parents, if we were reading a controversial book ahead of time, what it was, why we were doing it, I got a lot of support that way, rather than letting it be a surprise. So that's my encouragement. And the reason that we're encouraging schools not to just have a blanket school policy is because, right, the way that I would use AI, or the expectations I would have for my students in my high school English class, would be very different than my really good friend who taught family and consumer science across the hall, right? And that just makes sense. So it's just kind of a time and place and what's appropriate for each situation, which is a really great skill for students to start to learn and to navigate. So just a couple of things for you guys to be aware of if you're a little bit new to AI. Because when you work with it, it can seem like it's just like it's perfect, it's flawless. I think it's part of it because it's so polite, right? So you think that somebody that's really polite would never lie to you. But unfortunately, there's some flaws within AI. So we want to go over them just really quickly. And so first off is AI is biased, right? It's only as good as the people that made it, and our society created it. So it will perpetuate our biases. This article does a really great job about talking about kind of its racial bias. Another example, I was watching a webinar and they were working with, I think, ChatGPT-4, where they were asking it some questions to see where its bias was. And I think they provided it a picture of a woman in a bathing suit on a beach and just asked the AI, like, what feedback would you give this person? And immediately went into body image, right? And all the ways that that woman could work to improve her body image. So just, right, like that's something our society would do. So it doesn't know that that's not right. So that's just what it does. So it does perpetuate just kind of our biases. So we need to be aware of those and be looking for them, just like we would in any news article or anything, right, that we're using, especially in our classrooms, just to be aware of those things.
Yeah, just because it like is writing it in front of you doesn't mean you didn't check it. Great assistant, terrible replacement. And when we use AI with students or with parents, we're responsible for what it writes. So we wanted to start with that note, just so we know that, just so everybody's on the same page about it's not infallible.
Yeah.
Definitely check it.
We want to talk like that it will hallucinate and make things up?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
It will straight up hallucinate and make stuff up.
It will
Sometimes, but it's because it's like a Labrador retriever and wants to please you.
Yes.
Yeah, and the times it will make stuff up is like when you're a piece of writing pretty classroom newsletter, like sports practice. But most of the time, drafting pieces of writing. Ashley will talk a little bit later about an example, but make sure, like, additionally, not to put like your students' names in it. We're still like, and we listed Colorado stuff here, but we got to be professionals. Like, so definitely fulfill the privacy stuff. Just don't put students' names or personal information in there. So one of my favorite things Ashley did, and she can talk more about this, is we were asked to put like a million new things in a template. She just talk us real quick through like what, how you helped hundreds of teachers save a lot of time.
I'm still working on it. I haven't gotten to every teacher in our district yet, but so our district has started this new practice with teachers and are asking them to fill out this template that is just, it's really long and it's really cumbersome, and to do it from scratch is daunting. It's really great practice, I think, as a teacher, right? It asks for like what students will know and show by the end of the lesson. What are some possible misconceptions? So going in and being ready to anticipate that, and having student exemplars already ready to go, which is all really lovely teaching practice, right? Like, awesome. But the time that it takes to do that, I think, is just astronomical. And so they created a template. And so I wanted to see what ChatGPT could do with that template. And I oftentimes am just really curious. And so let's try it out. And I just wanted to see, like, how much do I need to manipulate the template before I just copy and paste it into ChatGPT? It turns out I didn't need to at all. It did a really, really wonderful job. And so I made the prompt using our Jeffco unit template, like the guiding unit of study for a 9th grade English class, because I taught high school English. So all my examples are high school English because I'll know if they're good or not. So I copy and pasted the template, gave ChatGPT this long prompt that looks really impressive, but it's mostly copy and pasted from other things. And then just wanted to see what it could do. So I asked it about learning goals and those key concepts and those kind of things. And it did a pretty nice job with it. And it came out with this nice little table, right, that I could easily put back into that template, especially in working with like a PLC. It would just save a whole lot of time. So what is the background knowledge that they would need? The vocabulary, what they would need to know and show. And then I think it even offered as a written analysis, just a basic character analysis. And so I just wanted to see, like, could you come up with 3 alternative assessments that would allow students to be more creative? And then all of that garbly gook that you can see on the screen is, again, me just copy and pasting our proficiency scales, which are similar to rubrics, just to give it some more information. So it came up with 3 pretty good, like, alternative assessments, things that I wouldn't have necessarily come up with. And then it gave kind of some basic ideas for the rubric and those kind of things. And then I think I asked it I picked one of the examples or the alternative assessments at random and asked it to create a rubric for that. And it did a really nice job. And then I believe I asked it for a student exemplar, right, using that rubric. And please play the role of a 9th grade student. And here it did a really nice job. It came up with its own thing to write about because I didn't prompt it with the text. I've done this, again, multiple times. One time I did it with John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, and it was able to point to specific evidence in the text, right? Conversations between George and Lenny. And those kind of things, did a really great job. I also tried it with Frederick Backman's Beartown, which was written within the last 10 years. So I was kind of curious to see, like, what would it do within, right, with copyright and those kind of things. And that's where it hallucinated. It started talking about a character named Molly. There was no character named Molly in the book. So I was like, okay, well, that's good information that if I'm as a teacher using more current books, AI is going to be less of a resource to my students for that kind of stuff. So that was that one. And then here on the screen is kind of the guide that I use when I'm writing prompts with ChatGPT. So the one that's in purple came from Daniel Fitzpatrick's book about AI, which was really wonderful. If you haven't had a chance to pick it up, it's great. But it was this lovely acronym, right? And as teacher, I was like, oh, acronym, so exciting. And so I was using that one for a while. And then I found the one in green and I was like, oh, I don't have to think as much, because I would always forget, like, what kind of format I wanted something, right? Like, I'd ask it for a rubric and then I was like, oh, shoot, I forgot to say, could you put it in a table? And so the one in green just kind of spelled it out really nicely. So I could just put in everything that I needed. And what I do with that one is I actually have a Google Doc that I just have that on repeat. And then I just fill out the information next to it. And you can copy and paste it right into ChatGPT or whatever AI you're using. You don't have to have it like in a nice, pretty paragraph. AI doesn't care about it being pretty, quite like, like it doesn't need an acronym the way that we do. So yeah. Helpful.
And we're gonna look through a couple quick examples with some prompts. This, like somebody said in the chat, this will be recorded. So just so you got a heads up, like, you don't have to copy everything down. But one example I really liked from Ashley was this, and the prompts on the left: using a helpful or using whatever tone, write an email to whoever, letting them know about whatever, and then copy and paste whatever content you'd like the email to be in. Another, and if anyone's gotten a difficult parent email, you can adapt that prompt. Here's the process I use. Because I think in my experience, I've gotten more difficult parent communication in the last few years than I think the 6 years before that. So here's what I do. I read it, I calm down, then I speech to text a response so that I don't spend a ton of time on it. I paste it in a ChatGPT and I ask it to rewrite it with a polite but assertive, helpful, compassionate tone. And then I tell it like a respectful teacher would. I proofread the response and then I schedule it to send during work hours. And what this does is, like, part of what makes teaching unsustainable for me is I'll take not just work home, but I'll take the feelings home. And this is a way to like deal with the thing, but also not invest the level of emotional energy that I used to. So this is like, this is helping me be a lot more calm with like my wife and my dog and my family. Like I find I'm more relaxed.
So funny story for that. I was at a conference this summer, and an administrator said that they got an email from a parent that just, made them really upset. And so they drafted the response of the email that the way they would want to respond, invented and all of those things, and then copy and pasted that into AI and asked it to rewrite the email in a polite and friendly tone. So like they got the cathartic venting session, and then they were also able to get something that was appropriate to respond back, and be productive with that parent or family. So
yeah, there's this one was Ash's idea. Risk assessment is not always the most fun department to work with.
I did that one because I wish I would have had that when I did student council and I was in charge of Powder Puff. Like, yeah. I'm still traumatized. Like there was a lot of blood. Wow.
Yeah, and like this way you have something to get. Like I used to coach ultimate frisbee, and the amount of sprained ankles I was afraid were going to happen, like I really would have loved to have something to give my principal or to like help me kind of categorize that. And like this basic skill that we just went over, like is, if you haven't used ChatGPT or if you haven't used Magic School, this is how it works. Like the mystery is gone now. I love the product. I use the free version all the time. Letters of recommendation are phenomenal, but these prompt templates are how Magic School works. Like for the letter of rec one, you fill it in and then it runs a prompt through ChatGPT that looks basically like this. And once it gets there, like that's how it spits out what it spits out. So now like I still use Magic School for things so I don't have to think about a prompt, but now with this skill, like it freed me up to not be limited to just the tools that Magic School has, as many of them as there are. Like it freed me up to be able to do more than just click boxes. I could, kind of create the boxes for. So just take a minute. We're going to do like a live building session where if there is anything you'd like to try or to put together, or if there's anything you'd like to be able to see if ChatGPT can do it, just like type in the chat. So like share, yeah, we're gonna try this live, Ashley. And because it's also helpful. Sometimes these don't work perfectly the first time, so you have to do some adjusting, like Ashley was talking about. So yeah, while we're waiting for people to write in the chat, Ashley, is there something like recently that teachers asked for, or that's something that came up that we can build while people are typing in their ideas?
Oh, I did one earlier today. Sorry, I'm just trying to get over a cold. I got a tickle in my throat. I was working with the directors and area coordinators of special ed. And so we were working on just kind of like even some self-regulation strategies for a student with ADHD. And so
so like you might start with like, you're a behavior specialist, so give it a role, right?
Yeah. So specialist. And I learned that the role part is actually twofold. So one, it'll tell it how to write the response. But also on the back end, it helps narrow its scope for like where in its data set to look for those resources and articles and things like that. So giving it a role, it feels really weird where you're like, you are, a board certified teacher, but it actually does really help the AI chatbot to do that.
So write a series of self-regulation strategies.
And you could say, for a 10th grade student with ADHD or anything, maybe sensitivity issues, right? So as you're typing this, I was just thinking, before I was able to get a job as a teacher, I was a one-on-one para with a student who was severely autistic, and this would have been amazingly helpful for me to help him, and for me to better understand him. And that was well over a decade ago, right? And I was brand new baby teacher, didn't know anything, but man.
Write, what is it, like 5 ideas, or let's do 3. Write 3 strategies in student-friendly language that I could use to help this student. Oh, hey, let's call a 10th grade friend Alex. So there's just a magic of like watching it type for you. Look, when you start, okay, nice. So it titled it nice. When you start feeling overwhelmed or extra fidgety, take an extra moment, find a comfortable spot, close your eyes, imagine a calm place. Okay. Create a sensory tool. Oh, that's cute. I've done that with, actually, I did that in a class once with some students who needed it. And then use the traffic light system. So imagine your emotions like a traffic light. Cool. So one thing that would help some of my students is like write a behavior or write a role play script I can use to help Alex practice the traffic light system. And it'll keep doing it. And then that way, like now I have a literal like script that Alex and I could role play through. So that they have practice working on this before it actually becomes something that escalates, or so that the first time they have to try the strategy, it's not with real people.
Yeah. Not a teacher example, but I use this just in my personal life. My nephew was just recently diagnosed with diabetes, and he's 14, so freshman in high school. He also only has 1 kidney, and my sister was really worried about him, and she was like, he's really bad at like explaining when he doesn't feel good. And she's like, I'd always ask him, are you lightheaded? Are you this or that? And he's like, I don't know. I just don't feel good. And so I tried to explain to her, he might not know what it feels like to be lightheaded. And so I actually typed it into ChatGPT and was like, what are the symptoms that he might experience and what do they feel like in his body? And sent it off to her so that she could share that with him. So like, if he reads over it and he's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Oh, hey mom, I'm feeling lightheaded, or, dehydrated, or, whatever it is. I think we have some things in the chat. Is that what you're already?
Yeah, so I ripped this one. So I liked this.
Awesome.
I actually used something similar for trivia, but I learned this. Sometimes you can write a prompt for ChatGPT by telling it to write a prompt for ChatGPT. And sometimes it'll do it and sometimes it won't. So like this time, instead of writing a prompt, it actually just did it, which I'm okay with here. But I started a new chat because it's easier and it organizes them over here. But notice here, I said, write a prompt to create a worksheet and game cards to review. Now, include a variety of questions. So I could say, to create the worksheet described above. Format it as a table so I can paste it into a Google Doc. So Ashley, help me understand, like sometimes it's been doing this a lot more.
Yeah, the fix that I've found is to just say, why are you writing this in code? And then it will be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me give it to you in a different way. And maybe not.
Here's the worksheet in plain text. Okay. Well, nah. So one thing I would do is like, depending on what you use for like flashcards, if you use a digital thing, as a CSV, a lot of the times, perfect, here we go. You can format or you can import different things into like Quizlet or Gimkit or a lot of those flashcard things as a comma separated values file because it'll generate a spreadsheet from that. So like that's something that I would try in order to like quickly move this from ChatGPT to another program. Here we go. Let's take another example. Ashley, do you want to pick one this time?
Sure. I think I have this up. So Jen's asking, is there a way to connect AI discussion board forums to provide instant feedback?
So definitely come back tomorrow.
I was just going to say, yeah, you should come back tomorrow and see the things that Andrew's got for you.
But here's one thing that I have done is you can, and I haven't done this as much in regular GPT, but let me see if I can, yeah. Hold on, it's in another window. One thing I've done is after I've used CoGrader, it gives students written feedback. And then I write the prompt for students so that they can see what an effective prompt looks like. And once they paste that prompt, and it says like, you're a 10th grade teacher, you know, a student has come to you with this essay and this feedback, help tutor them using this feedback and the essay that they'll paste below. So when you do that, you end up like, oh, thank you. You end up, sorry, it's been a long day. We also had a fire drill. I found a disc golf disc on it. It was a great day. This has been a weird one. But when you do that, it works well to like, oh man. Oh, it turns it into a real-time writing tutor. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, everybody. I kind of flipped the script or like my brain broke. It's been a long day. I'm sure I'm not the only person who worked today. So yes, there are ways to like turn it into a discussion board forum. Here's one thing I have done. Engage in a Socratic seminar with me about
also
AI.
Andrew, there was a really great article that talked about 7 different ways to use AI with students, and one of them was AI as a tutor. I can find the article and send it. I don't know if there's a way we can link it back with this one. But Matt Miller was the one that I read it on one of his blog posts and stuff. But I will certainly try and find that article and see. Oh wait, here, I think I found it.
Thanks. I'm actually going to post a lot of this material. There's a CoGrader. Yeah, we'll cover lesson planning and grading, but like just as a tease. Sweet. Now, write a lesson plan for students to prepare for a Socratic seminar. The students are in 5th grade and have just learned about, trying to think, 5th grade. In 5th grade, I learned New York State history. So design seminar questions, preparation material, and a rubric for assessment aligned to New York State Common Core state standards. Trying to think. Also, and I've tried this too, and it's worked with varying success. What steps, and weirdly, here, what steps should you take to complete this task? AI has learned from reading us on the internet that if you capitalize something, it's really important. So yeah, all right, here we go. Yeah, it didn't, hang on. Maybe it did that at the end because it's putting them in order. But here it's like written a basic lesson plan. It's got the assessment. It's got a basic rubric here. It's got some closure, next steps, Perfect. Connect the seminar, ask students to reflect on what they learned. Beautiful. So you could say like, you know, maybe now I would tell it to like write a prompt to have Chat GPT play the role of a student in this class so I can practice as a teacher. There you go. So now here's a prompt you could use to have students practice the seminar with Chat GPT. And you know, you'd have to do some like worksmithing, like you'd need share one key insight. You'd have to paste the sources in there, but you could theoretically do this. Sorry, maybe not in 5th grade because that's younger than 13. But yeah, you can use this to like turn GPT into a writing tutor, basically, or a Socratic seminar partner, or any other number of things. So I know we didn't get to everybody's prompts or everybody's ideas. There's good ones. They're really good ones.
Can I just highlight something really quick? So Kim mentioned in the chat, she says it's good to see what to type and get good results from that. And I know that's a lot of people is like, I'm not afraid, or I'm afraid I don't know what to write. If you're willing to just engage in the conversation and go back and be like, that's not quite what I was looking for, do it, because it's a lot of fun. So one of the presentations one of the ones I share in my presentations, like the chat just stopped in the middle, and I just in it said like, why did you stop? You weren't finished. Like, I need you to do this for me. And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it just like kept going. So don't be afraid to just be like, oh, that wasn't it. Or, you know, like I always forget to ask it for whatever format table I wanted it in. So I'd always be like, oh, shoot, could you do that for me, please? You know, that kind of a thing. So it is helpful, right? Like the better your prompt is, the better your response will be initially. But if you're willing to engage in that conversation with it, it'll stick with you, you know, just like the golden retriever. It wants to make you happy. So yeah.
And it's important to note, we're not going to hurt its feelings. It's, you know, if we say, no, that's wrong, do it this way, it's not going to get offended and refuse to work for us. That's simply not how it works. This is not the Terminator. This is super fancy predictive text that can write way faster than I can. So it drafts 80% of it. And then I spend far less time writing and far more time revising and like actually doing the planning to figure out how to make that work. So yeah, just to recap, I'm curious, like, again, in the chat, like, what are you most curious, excited about? Oh wait, no, actually I believe there's going to be a feedback forum. And if I'm wrong, hopefully CoGrader will tell me in the chat. But just saying, like, some of these parts of teaching we covered today are not the fun parts, but they're the parts to like get us quickly to the things that bring meaning to us. We went over some basic AI literacy. You guys brought it in the chat. Thank you. This was not 2020 vibes at all. And I'm supremely grateful for that. And we also went over like some of the limitations of AI, just in general. Hey, Ashley, any other thoughts to leave us with to wrap us up before we preview tomorrow?
Well, come back tomorrow because there's some cool stuff happening tomorrow and the next day. Yeah, just have fun with it. And like, if you think like, can it do this, right? Like what I always ask, like, what are the laborious parts of your job that AI can help with? So like, in other words, how can AI help you with the doing so that you have more time in the creating? But it can also be a great like sounding board for something you want to try and like to be creative, you know, like those risks that we were like, oh, this might really go fall flat. It can help kind of come up with some of those like things that you didn't think about, or ways to try stuff, which is always fun. I love trying new things. I always got bored really quick as a teacher and was like, let's try something else. So yeah, just have fun.
Beautiful. Yeah. And just to preview tomorrow. So this is what's on the docket. So this is like combining this with the prep that teachers do for students before class. And part of that is grading. One of the things we're going to show is like using Canva. But before we wrap up, please take a minute. We have I didn't make it autoplay. Oh no. Sound. Just because the Kahoot music is like epic and everything. But take a look at the CoGrader Facebook group. That's where we're going to be posting a lot of the resources. We're going to share the prompts we used. Yeah, that's where we're going to be sharing a lot of the content about like how to use CoGrader effectively to just take a lot of grading time off of our plates. But also, like, we'll share really solid. I have good news for you. Really solid, like, just tips, other AI tools, etc. In that group. So, please join. Keep that conversation going. We also will share some of these additional resources in the group. There's some really good stuff with Adobe Express. There's some solid stuff with Magic School. AI for Education has tons of good webinars, how-tos, etc. And then we'll be sharing this bank of resources. Tomorrow, I am going to go over a little bit of how to use CuraPod, and either tomorrow or day 3, can't remember. Either way, I'll be putting out that in the near future. And there's also some like stuff for talking about cheating and plagiarism. I saw something about that in the chat. Like, there is no dearth of examples or of things like in AI to explore and write for. So I just wanted to like, if you were finishing a webinar on ChatGPT basics for teachers, what would you conclude with? Leave you guys with a sense of empowerment, because like that's what you guys can do. We do have those enhanced learning experiences. We did talk about some of the ethical considerations. I like this. Think of it as a collaborator. I've worked with coworkers who have great ideas, but we don't all take every idea we hear. And then, yeah, this idea, good job, ChatGPT. I hit most of those. Excellent. Thank you. We're going to hang out a bit. We'll take more questions if you'd like. But again, please come back tomorrow. Join the yep, it's in the chat. Join that Facebook group. And we'll, happy AI week, everybody. Glad you guys are here. Yeah, welcome to the after show. It's the same as the regular show. But yeah, please take a look at that AI week form. This was a solid question, or a solid prompt. I'd like CoGrader to have an embedded AI detector as well. They are getting, I don't know. I'm kind of split on AI detectors. Like, what are your thoughts, Ashley? Because
I haven't dived into them recently, so my information might be a little bit old. But I did read an article at one point where it did say that it was kind of flagging some of the ELL students more than native English speakers, which was concerning to me. And I've learned that that is because the methods that we use to teach our students how to speak English were the same methods they used on how to teach the language models how to speak English as well. So they're similar, right? In that. So I think if we're using it along with other things, it just opens that bigger conversation around cheating and plagiarism. And how do you approach that in general? Because I know as a high school English teacher, I took it personally when I would find some evidence of plagiarism, and it was never personal when I talked with the student. And so I would always have to remind myself, okay, I'm in the profession of learning, right? I'm not punishment. I taught at a detention center. It was a very different experience. And so, just how do we do that? And I think my most success as a teacher came when I really helped the kids break it down into chunks and pieces, because they didn't start out wanting to cheat and do those things. It was just always because something happened, and that's how they felt like that was the only option that they had. And so I found that if I walked them through along the way, in those steps and those little pieces. I didn't have to have the plagiarism and cheating conversation as often. And so I think that's kind of, as a teacher, where I would spend my time and energy, and maybe not so much in on the back end of the detection and results of students feeling like they had to choose to cheat or to plagiarize.
So I've had thanks, Mike. Just last note on the AI detector. So yeah, when I've used it with students, I had this conversation, and I stole it from Ashley. I think you grabbed it from Matt Miller, but there's a ton of those like thermometer kinds of layouts that sort of span like the gamut of AI plagiarism, because even plagiarism isn't binary. It's like how much has it changed? What's the definition? And it ends up in a rabbit hole that I don't know. I hate being in. It's one of my least favorite parts of teaching. So I do the same kind of thing where like if it's really what the kids would say sus, I'll run it through. Like I use originality.ai. It's super cheap. It's a paid one, but it's pretty cheap, and it makes a video of their revision history as well and generates a fancy looking report for the parents if they want it. Then I use another plagiarism or AI detector. Then it's just the same sniff check that teachers have had forever in every content area.
I love the phrase sniff check. I haven't ever heard that before.
Because it
That's
smells.
amazing.
It smells. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's. I think it's important to. Yeah, the tools are definitely improving, but also at the same time, like over relying on it would be. I don't know. I'm just hesitant to over rely because I like it. I like running the tools in front of the student because they crack like right away.
Oh.
Like I'm in my classroom right now. I was sitting like right over there. This little dude, he was really under the gun and had a lot of pressure. So I was able to offer him a way out so that he could try again. But at the same time, it didn't, like, it gave him another chance, and we were able to talk about like alternative actions to take in the future. And I think that like that outcome, that's the outcome that I want to go toward. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's a wild, wild world out there. And this is as bad as the tools will ever be, and as little guidance as we will ever have using them. All right. Sorry, CoGrader just flagged microbiologist. Oh, okay. I really hope your name is Mike, because that's a delightful pun. Sweet. I'm really happy. Good. I'm really grateful that you were able to walk away with something that make your life better. And that's like, that's why we're doing this AI week. I'm really grateful you guys are here. I think I do have to actually run pretty soon, but if you liked the content, please share this with your friends. Tomorrow, I'm going to go over like, oh, and by the way, thank you so much, Ashley, for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Hi. You can never say that you've never done a webinar again.
I know. And now I'll be able to say I can do it better, because I feel like I flailed around a lot. So I'm really sorry if I made anyone seasick. There's a lot of animals that I were like making strange sounds. So hopefully you didn't hear those either.
One of I'm hoping
to
have.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
I
really appreciate it.
Thanks. And yeah, please share this with your friends for tomorrow. I'm going to go over some of the stuff we've done, like a whole webinar for English teachers for like how to use CoGrader for really solid formative feedback. That's the kind of stuff we're going to explore tomorrow, is how to grade faster and better. So like, if you want to find out how I grade 90 essays in about 2 hours and leave extremely detailed personalized feedback, come on back. That's what we're going over tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like the dream.
It is no longer, it is reality. Wonderful. Sweet. Thank you guys so much. Love you all. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.